Hi everyone. So today we are going to discuss about 11.2, which is tools of recombinant DNA technology. So we're going to discuss the part 2. Part 1 has already been uploaded. Okay. So cloning vectors. Cloning vector is of two types. One is bacteriophage, another one is plasmid. Bacteriophage looks is actually a virus that infects uh, bacteria, and plasmid is actually circular extra chromosomal DNA. So what do you mean by copy number? Copy number is when, for example, this is a bacterial cell and this is a chromosomal DNA and we have a plasmid. When the bacterial cell divides, along with that, the plasmid also divides. That is referred to as a copy number. The multiplication power of a plasmid is referred to as a copy number. So here we have the copy number we'll actually count. The copy number of the plasmid is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The copy number of this case is actually 6. So what is copy number? The plasmid copy number is the number of copies of a given vectors in a cell. So plasmid and bacteriophage. So this black color outer corner is referred to as a bacterial cell. It contains a genome, or this blue color you can say it is a chromosomal DNA. And this red color extra that is circular part is referred to as a plasmid. These are small, autonomously replicating. They replicate by themselves. They do not require enzymes from the bacteria or from the chromosomal DNA. They have their enzymes located within them, and they are circular and extra chromosomal double stranded DNA molecule. They are extra because there is already a chromosomal DNA which is present here. So they are something that is extra in the bacterial cell, and they are double stranded DNA molecules. So plasmid is this is one strand of the plasmid, and this is the another strand of the plasmid. So they are double stranded DNA molecule. And now we'll talk about bacteriophage. The stick diagram of bacteriophage looks like this. And they infect a bacterial cell. So basically, it's a virus, and the genetic material is present in the head. So this particular part is referred to as the head. So these are viruses that infect the bacteria. They have very high copy number. So they have very high copy number in comparison to the plasmid. So we have two cloning vectors. One is plasmid, and one is bacteriophage. So plasmids and bacteriophage can replicate by themselves. They are autonomously replicating without the need of the chromosomal DNA. So they do not require any help from the bacteria or from the chromosomal DNA. Bacteriophages have a very high copy number. So they have very high copy number in comparison to the plasmids. And plasmid on the other hand has have high as well as low copy number. So the copy numbers actually vary in their case. uh, in some plasmid may have only one or two copies per cell, whereas others may have 15 to 100 copies per cell. So they might have very high copy number or low copy number. If we are able to link an alien piece of DNA or foreign DNA with bacteriophage or plasmid DNA, we can multiply its numbers equal to the copy number of the plasmid. So in this case, when we are actually multiplying, so the plasmid is the bacterial cell is dividing, right? From one, it is becoming two. So the plasmid is multiplying, and we have something referred to as the foreign DNA. The foreign DNA is present in the plasmid. So when the plasmid is replicating, the foreign DNA is also getting replicated in each case. So that is referred to as a copy number. I mean, that is actually increasing the copy number of the plasmid, and the foreign DNA is getting increased. So basically, from one it has become two, and here it has become four. So with the plasmid replication, the foreign DNA is also getting replicated. That is the meaning of this sentence. Vectors are engineered in such a way that the foreign DNA can be linked to the vector and also screen recombinant from non-recombinants. So basically, the plasmid that we are actually having, it is actually an engineered plasmid. We are actually making the plasmid, and we have a foreign DNA associated with that. So foreign DNA can be linked to the plasmid and also screen recombinant from non-recombinant. This we will learn from the upcoming slides. What is the features of a cloning vector? This is a cloning vector. It contains an origin of replication. This is where the replication actually starts. And they have a selectable marker, an antibiotic resistance gene, and there is a cloning site. This is referred to as a cloning site. This is where the foreign DNA is actually incorporated. Origin of replication. So origin of replication is, so here itself, this part is referred to as the origin of replication. And this is a sequence from where the replication starts. So this is where the replication starts. And any piece of DNA when linked to the sequence can be made to replicate within the host cells. This sequence is also responsible for controlling the copy number. So it is actually important for controlling the copy number of the linked DNA. So before moving to the selectable marker side, I think I'll actually go in detail with the antibiotic resistant genes and insertion and activation. Then you'll be able to understand the previous slides. So there are two methods to select the recombinant DNA from the non-recombinant DNA. There are two methods. One is the inactivation of the antibiotic resistance genes, and another one is the insertion and activation. First, we look into the inactivation of antibiotic resistance genes. This is the explanation. First, we look into the inactivation of antibiotic resistance gene. So we have a plasmid DNA. This is a PBR322 plasmid. It contains two regions, two antibiotic resistance genes. So we have the tetracycline resistance genes and the ampicillin resistance genes. So we have the tetracycline resistant genes and the ampicillin resistant genes. So there are two antibiotics. In this case, so we are looking after ampicillin, and second we are looking after tetracycline. So what do you mean by ampicillin resistance? If a plasmid contains an ampicillin resistance with them, that means this particular plasmid is resistant to the bacteria ampicillin. The bacteria, these are the antibiotics. Okay, so what is the action of an antibiotic? It is to kill the bacteria. Similarly, tetracycline also is resistance, means it is actually tetracycline cannot kill this bacteria. Any plasmid that contains a tetracycline resistance, that means the tetracycline cannot kill that cell. So here we have tetracycline resistance and ampicillin resistance. So now, so we have the tetracycline resistance. This is referred to as a non-recombinant. Why? Because the tetracycline resistance gene is intact. In this case, we are considering it as a recombinant because the foreign DNA has been inserted in the tetracycline region. That is why the tetracycline is actually inactive. Now, this is a non-recombinant cell. So where we have the chromosomal DNA and as well as this particular plasmid has been put here. So here the tetracycline resistance gene is present as well as the ampicillin resistance gene is also present. And this together is referred to as a non-recombinant cell. Then we grow them on ampicillin containing medium and tetracycline containing medium. In this case, the ampicillin and tetracycline medium, the colonies will actually grow. Why the colonies will actually grow? Not able to. Okay, so we'll really release all. Okay, so basically, we have ampicillin containing. For example, if this is a tetracycline medium, okay, imagine this is a tetracycline medium. Okay, so here we are actually incorporating some wells. Imagine there are some holes inside. Okay, so we are incorporating in the tetracycline medium some wells. So this is the antibiotic. Then in these holes or wells, what we'll do is we'll incorporate some bacterial cells. This is the bacterial cell that we're incorporating. Okay, this bacterial cell has been incorporated here. What really happens is, then what happens is, will the cell die? Will these cells die or not? Is the question. Will it survive? Will these cells survive or not? The thing is that it will not survive. These cells will not survive. Why? Because tetracycline medium, this is a tetracycline medium, has killed the bacteria. Why? Because it has tetracycline resistance with them. This particular plasmid has tetracycline resistance. So, in this case, here it is a non-recombinant cell. The tetracycline resistance is active. So thereby, if we grow them in ampicillin tetracycline medium, these two antibiotics will not kill the cell. It will not kill the cell, and the colonies will grow. In this case, we have the recombinant cell. When it grows on the ampicillin-containing medium, the recombinants will grow. Ampicillin resistance is there, so ampicillin cannot kill the cell. Tetracycline, we are actually growing in the ampicillin medium, and then we grow on the tetracycline medium. What really happens is the tetracycline kills the cell because there's a tetracycline resistance gene is being inactivated, so no growth of colonies in this cell. Then we recombinant cells, we grow on ampicillin plus tetracycline medium, that again there will be no growth of colonies because the tetracycline will kill this particular cell, because this cell does not, is actually inactive, it does not have tetracycline resistance gene because of the insertion of the foreign DNA. This is what is referred to as the inactivation of antibiotic resistance gene. Now we'll go to the text and understand it nicely. So we can ligate a foreign DNA at the BAM-H1 site of the tetracycline resistance gene. This is referred to as the BAM-H1 site, and here we are incorporating a foreign DNA. So this green color part is referred to as a foreign DNA. The recombinant plasmids will lose tetracycline resistance. Due to the insertion of the foreign DNA, the tetracycline resistance will be lost, but can still be selected out from the non-recombinant ones by plating the transformants on ampicillin containing medium. So basically, the tetracycline resistance will be lost, but if you place them in an ampicillin containing medium, the recombinants will actually grow. Transformants growing on ampicillin containing medium are then transferred to a medium containing tetracycline. The recombinants will grow in the ampicillin containing medium, but they will not grow on the tetracycline containing medium because tetracycline resistance gene has been lost because of the insertion of the foreign DNA. But non-recombinants will grow on the medium containing both antibiotics. Non-recombinant. So this is a non-recombinant, will actually grow on both the mediums. In this case, one antibiotic resistant genes helps in selecting the transformants and the other does not. So what do you mean by transformants and non-transformants? This is a particular cell. This has a chromosomal DNA and the plasmid. And this is a particular cell which only has a chromosomal DNA. A cell that has a plasmid is referred to as a transformant. And a cell that does not have a plasmid is referred to as a non-transformant. Okay, so that is about inactivation of antibiotic resistance gene. Now we'll go into insertional inactivation. So insertional inactivation. So we have something referred to as LAC-Z gene. Before that, we actually looked into antibiotic resistance gene, which is quite complicated. Okay, so in order to, we'll not look into antibiotic resistant genes now. We'll look into something called as a LAC-Z gene, which actually is based on color. so that this method is easier than the antibiotic resistance gene. So LAC-Z gene is something which actually produces an enzyme referred to as beta galactosidase. Beta galactosidase, in presence of a chromogenic substrate, produces blue color colonies. It produces blue color colonies. So this is what you need to remember. LAC-Z gene produces beta galactosidase, and in presence of a chromogenic substrate, it produces a blue color colonies. So insertion and activation. So we have the ampicillin resistant genes. Instead of tetracycline resistant genes, we have something referred to as a LAC-Z gene. LAC-Z gene produces beta galactosidase, and in presence of chromogenic substrate, it produces blue color colonies. You need to remember that. And then we have this foreign DNA. So this is a non-recombinant DNA because the LAC-Z gene is actually active and intact. In this case, the LAC-Z gene is not present. It is only the foreign DNA is present. So inactive LAC-Z gene due to the insertion of the foreign DNA. So LAC-Z gene is inactive in this case. Now the non-recombinant cell, since the LAC-Z gene is present, in presence of the chromogenic substrate, it will give blue color colonies because LAC-Z gene produces beta galactosidase, and beta galactosidase in presence of chromogenic substrate produces blue color colonies. In this case, it is a recombinant DNA. In this case, the LAC-Z gene is inactive. So in presence of the chromogenic substrate, it will produce colorless colonies because there is no beta galactosidase produced by the LAC-Z gene because the LAC-Z gene is inactive in this case. So that is referred to as an insertional inactivation. We'll look into the text. So selection of recombinants due to the inactivation of antibiotics is a cumbersome procedure. So it is a cumbersome procedure. We looked into the antibiotic resistance gene. It is quite cumbersome and complicated because it requires simultaneous plating on two plates having different antibiotics. Therefore, alternative selectable markers have been developed which differentiate recombinants from the non-recombinants on the basis of their ability to produce color. So in this case, we're actually looking at the color, blue color colonies and colorless colonies. In this, a recombinant DNA is inserted within the coding sequence of an enzyme, that is a beta galactosidase. This results into inactivation of the enzyme, which is referred to as insertional inactivation. So basically, a foreign DNA is being inserted into the LAC-Z gene, and this is referred to as insertional inactivation. The presence of a chromogenic substrate gives blue colored colonies if the plasmid in the bacteria does not have an insert. Insert means foreign DNA. If the plasmid does not have a foreign DNA, it will actually give blue colored colonies. Presence of insert or a foreign DNA results into insertional inactivation of the beta galactosidase, and the colonies do not produce any color. These are identified as recombinant colonies. So presence of a foreign DNA or an insert will actually inactivate the beta galactosidase, and in presence of a chromogenic substrate, it gives colorless colonies. Therefore, the bacterial colonies have inserted plasmid. Having inserted plasmid shows no coloration. So these are the recombinant colonies. So while those without plasmid show blue color. So those which does not have plasmid will show blue color, or those which are non-recombinants will show blue color. Now we'll go back to the text in the previous slides. So this is a selectable marker. Selectable marker helps in identifying and eliminating non-transformants and selecting permitting the growth of transformants. So those cells which have a plasmid, will allow them to grow, and those cells which do not have a plasmid will not be allowed to grow with the help of selectable marker. Normally, E. coli cells do not carry resistance against any of the antibiotics. So in this PBR 322, can you see this ampicillin resistance gene and tetracycline resistance gene is something which is engineered, that we have to make. We have to incorporate these antibiotic resistant genes into a plasmid. A plasmid originally does not have an antibiotic resistant genes. Antibiotic resistant gene must be incorporated or must be engineered into the plasmid. So we are making the plasmid. Transformation is a procedure through which a piece of DNA is introduced into the host bacterium. In the plasmid DNA, we are actually producing a foreign DNA and it is actually introduced into the host, which is the bacterial cell. The genes encoding resistance to antibiotics such as ampicillin, chloramphenicol, tetracycline, or kanamycin, etc., are considered useful selectable markers. So, in this particular case, we are actually looking at two antibiotics. One is ampicillin, and other one is tetracycline. So, these are actually useful selectable markers. Selectable marker genes are present in the plasmids and they help in the selection of transformants, that is, the cells in which the plasmid is present and the non transformants. So, they are used to help distinguish between non transformant and transformant. These selectable marker genes may provide resistance to antibiotics such as the ampicillin resistant and the tetracycline resistant sites seen in the plasmid PBR322. If cells are transformed within the plasmid, then the cells can be selected by either growing them in a medium containing ampicillin or tetracycline. Only the cells that have the plasmid, that is transformed cells, will have resistance for the antibiotics. So only those cells which have the plasmid and with the foreign DNA also, they will have resistance for the antibiotic and will be able to grow in the medium. The cells that are not transformed will not be able to grow in such a medium. Now we look into cloning site. So this is very important. This diagram is very important to be drawn. It is actually a PBR322 cloning vector. So it has tetracycline resistant gene and an ampicillin resistant gene, and this is a BAM-H1 restriction site. So this is a restriction site or recognition site for the enzyme BAM-H1. In this particular site, the DNA can be inserted. DNA can also be inserted in PVU1 recognition site or PST1 recognition site. So, in order to link the alien DNA, so we have to put the alien DNA or a foreign DNA. The vector needs to have very few, preferably single recognition sites. What are these recognition sites? These are nothing but BAM-H1, PVU1, and PST1. So, these are the recognition sites for the commonly used recognition restriction enzymes. Presence of more than one restriction site within the vector will generate several fragments, which will complicate the gene cloning. Okay, and the ligation of alien DNA is carried out at a restriction site present in one of the two antibiotic resistant gene. So the ligation of DNA takes place in the BAM-H1 site or in the PVU1 site or in PST1 site. In this case, we are actually learning about BAM-H1 site in tetracycline antibiotic. For example, you can ligate a foreign DNA at the BAM-H1 site of tetracycline. So we can actually ligate at the BAM-H1 site a foreign DNA in the tetracycline resistant gene. So basically, this I have extracted from the internet, this particular slide. So we have the plasmid here, and there's a we cut the plasmid using the enzyme EcoR1. Same restriction enzyme is being used to cut the foreign DNA as well as the plasmid. Sticky ends will be produced, and then we will ligate this particular foreign DNA into the plasmid with the help of an enzyme called as DNA ligase. After that, we introduce them into a bacteria, and the bacteria actually grows, and multiple copies of the plasmid is actually produced. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 copy number of the plasmid, and then we expose them to a particular medium which has antibiotic. Only bacteria that actually contains the recombinant DNA will actually grow. Others will not grow. The non-transformants of those bacteria which does not, or those bacteria containing plasmids that does not have the foreign DNA will not grow. So I've gone through this particular slide. Let's move on to the last slide, which is about agrobacterium tumefaciens. So about agrobacterium tumefaciens, this is a particular agrobacterium tumefaciens. It is actually a pathogen or a bacteria. Pathogen is nothing but disease causing microorganism. So basically, it has something called as a plasmid and a chromosomal DNA as well. So this particular plasmid here, it has something referred to as a tDNA. This tDNA is actually responsible for causing a condition in plants which is referred to as crown gall disease. So it is actually a pathogen because it produces a disease in the plant. Now what we can do is we can remove this uh, tDNA and incorporate our foreign DNA into it. So if we put foreign DNA here in the tDNA region, we can incorporate this particular plasmid into the plant cell, and then we'll not have any crown gall disease, but we'll have a visible trait. This particular foreign DNA which we incorporate instead of tDNA will be incorporated into the plant cell, and we'll have some visible trait because of the foreign DNA. So Agrobacterium tumefaciens is a pathogen of several dicot plants, and it is able to deliver a piece of DNA known as tDNA. So it has tDNA. So this is basically a plasmid, and it contains a tDNA to transform the normal plant cells into a tumor. So basically they produce a tumor referred as crown gall and direct these tumor cells to produce the chemicals required by the pathogen. Similarly, retroviruses, this is for the animal cells. Retroviruses in animals have the ability to transform normal cells into cancerous cells. The tumor inducing plasmid. So this basically the bacterial cell, this is the Agrobacterium tumefaciens, and we have the chromosomal DNA as well as the plasmid. This particular plasmid is referred to as the TI plasmid. So the tumor-inducing plasmid of Agrobacterium tumefaciens has now been modified into a cloning vector. So now we can actually modify this particular plasmid. We can remove the tDNA and put our foreign DNA, which is no more pathogenic to the plants. We're not making it pathogenic. We're not causing any tumor to the plants, but is still able to use the mechanisms to deliver genes of interest. So our genes of interest or our foreign DNA can be inserted into the plant. Similarly, retroviruses have also been disarmed and are now used to deliver desirable genes into the animal cells. Retroviruses actually cause cancer, but we can modify them so that the desirable genes can be incorporated into the animal cells. So once a gene or a DNA fragment has been ligated into a suitable vector, it is transferred into bacterial and plant or animal host. We look into the picture. So we have the Agrobacterium tumefaciens, we have the chromosomal DNA, and this is the plasmid. This plasmid is referred to as a TI plasmid. And the black portion right here is the tDNA. Then we incorporate the gene of interest or a foreign DNA into the tDNA region. And then what happens is we introduce this particular plasmid into the plant cell. tDNA carrying the new gene within the plant chromosome. And then we incorporate into the plant cell. The plant, when it grows, it actually has a new trait inside it. So that is about gene transfer through Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Thank you for watching my video. If you have any doubts, you can actually write it down in the comments down below. And I will see you in my next video. Thank you.